What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome back to episode 19 of The Rise of a Nation, here with FC Edmonton in the Canadian Premier League. And today, we start on Liam Fraser's profile because he is joining us from Toronto FC at the end of the year on a free transfer. What a massive signing this is for us. It's given me a few sleepless nights thinking about, how are we going to find a successor for Soria? How are we going to find a centre-back with the real passing ability that he has and a player we can rely upon? And, well, let me tell you, we have found that man, I feel like, in Liam Fraser. Of course, a player who joined us on loan this year. Whilst perhaps not quite as defensively astute as Soria, you can see 13 passing, 11 vision, very, very good. Decent first touch as well. Maybe it could be a little bit better, but he's only 23 years old. He's a free transfer. He's joining us for the exact same salary he's on right now at Toronto. And I mean, how can you not be happy about that? That is one of a few deals that we've done. Of course, the summer transfer window has come and passed since you were last here. And I feel like let's start with the transfers, because there's been a few, including a few sales, which I know won't prove popular with everyone. So anyway, on the outs, obviously we made a number of deals throughout the earlier transfer window. This window, it's been a lot more calm, but we have made one notable sale for £400,000, and that is Tenguia, who was captain. I didn't really want to let him go, but £400,000 was just too much to reject from Forge. It's a massive sum of money. He's a player who at 26 has been good for us. But I feel like of all the positions we have in our team right now, centre-back is just the position where, for a long time, to be honest, we've been the most blessed. You kind of look across it. We've had players like Kareem Moses, Apare, Soria, Solomon, of course, can play at centre-back. With the addition of Liam Fraser joining us permanently as well, that's another centre-back option. And I don't know, £400,000 was just too much not to accept. And we also made a loaning out of Adam Bill, a player who you won't recognise, because as you can see here, he was one of 4 players who joined us on deadline day. I feel like we should start with Jordan Hamilton first, however. Another Toronto signing, but we did pay for this guy £525,000. Of course, a massive sum of money, really, largely propped up from the sale of Tenguia to Forge. A bit of a tactical one, this one. I've seen some comments in the chat, talking about Sarkaroya and Amiobi. Maybe they're not quite up to standards. We've got Jordan here, Canadian international, 25 years young. He's a younger player. He's got lots of years ahead of him. And he joined us on a 3.5-year or even 4.5-year deal. It's a massive, massive deal for us. Extremely happy with him. And the good thing about him really is the fact that he can play advance forward, but he can also play pressing forward pretty well. So he covers 2 of the big, obviously, roles that we use in our team right now. And that versatility, I feel like it is going to nail him down as kind of a third choice striker who we can definitely bring in when Nick Daly isn't playing well. When St. Duck's injured, as he is at the moment, we can bring him in. You can see here, Duck out with a torn hamstring at the moment. That is a really bad injury. But no, Jordan, I think, is a great signing. He's still looking for his first league goal, but I don't think it's going to take him long. You can see, I talked about Adam Bill going on loan to York 9. This guy here is the man of the moment. 17 years old. We signed him from Albuquerque's academy on a free transfer. He is partially Canadian. I really like the look of him. Obviously, the fact he's part Canadian is a massive bonus. And he has gone on loan to York 9 for the year, so getting regular Canadian Premier League football already. Unfortunately, he doesn't really play a position that fits our system right now. He's not the best defensively, but with this guy coming into the team and some of the talent we've got in the wider areas, I am weighing up the possibility that down the line we might go to a more conventional 4 at the back system. If the players start to fit that system, this is obviously an example of one of those players who might not be best served in our current 3-4-1-2. Worth noting, he is considered our hot prospect on our profile, so that's kind of interesting. We'll keep a very close eye on him. 2 other players we've signed. Willem Goldhar has joined us, good Canadian centre mid. Was at one of the younger youth teams. You can see here we've picked him up from Northern Kentucky through the collegiate system. He looks solid, very, very good young centre mid. Love the teamwork, love the vision. Physicals aren't too bad either. And the other signing we made, a player who will potentially get some first team football, is this guy, Milorad Bogdanovic. He is Canadian, he's 16 years old. He's already got 21 under-20s caps for Canada. So you can perhaps see why I wanted to get this guy in. And with us adding in Hamilton and letting go of Tenguia, we were obviously registering an extra striker and unregistering a centre-back. Milorad here, I feel like, is going to be an option at centre-back in the first team. He will get appearances this year. And yeah, keep an eye out on him. He's going to be playing in our first team. I'm going to make him actually available for the under-21s as well, just to ensure that you can continue to have match fitness. But yeah, I'm very, very excited about him. He's not the greatest in the air. His heading could be a little bit better. To be fair, his jumping, reach and height really aren't that bad. And at 16, he's got a massive, massive future ahead of him. And I can really see him becoming one of the big rocks in the centre of our team. So, a little bit of transfer business going on. You can see Telfer and St. Duc are out injured, and David Norman and Liam Fraser are coming back from injury. Truth be told, the current injury crisis has been one of the worst that I faced during my time here as manager. We've had about 10 injuries in about the last 35 days, which is crazy. And some of these have been major ones. You can see here Telfer's out of a major injury, Liam Fraser and St. Duc out with major ones. Obviously, the youngster Mossavat was out with an injury as well, which is a real shame to his development. You can already see it's kind of impacted his physicals. But yeah, we definitely have suffered, over the last month with these injuries. You can see Ruiz was out with a bruised ankle, Soria was out. And that has somewhat impacted our form. You can see since we were last here for the game against Halifax, we have gone on to play 7 games in the league. The first of which was against Forge. It was the last game of the opening kind of spring season. A 3-0 win to ensure an unbeaten run there. You can see Deshays picking up a brace. Very, very good for him, the 18-year-old. Still improving a ton. Probably going to get a start today as well. He really has come on leaps and bounds. I feel like he is quickly going to be maybe forging himself a spot in the first team. Anyway, we ended with Forge for the spring split, and you can see starting the autumn split, we had them again. This time we beat them 3-1. This was away from home. St. Duc grabbed us a brace. Solomon with a goal as well. Very, very, very good team performance there. Not a lot to be said other than that. Obviously, it was great to see St. Duc get goals. He's only got 5 goals this year in the league, but he's had so many injuries. You can see he's only actually made 7 appearances. It's a real shame he's torn his hamstring, but of course with us qualifying for the Canadian Championship playoff in the spring season, this autumn season, I've not been concerning myself quite as much with results, and I have been rotating the team fairly freely. Anyway, you can see in our next game we took on Valor. Good little performance here. Nick Daly with a goal in the 19th minute. Got us off to a good little start in front of 6,000 fans. They then scored through Corbeneau, who got a goal just before half-time. Was a little bit irritating, I'm not going to lie. However, Shatendall Senior to the rescue. Maybe we'll make him a Saint one day along with the Duck. But coming up big for us, getting another one of his classic goals from the centre defensive mid position. And to be honest, the 22-year-old Jamaican player, just someone who I'm really excited about. He is only 1 year away from having Canadian citizenship, and he is yet to get called up for the Jamaican national team. There is still a sneaky part of me that kind of hopes maybe he could play for Canada. But nevertheless, great to see him get a performance. You can see he's continuing to do well in training, which is great to see. And well, off the back of that 2-1 win, things really didn't go to plan. We played Cavalry back-to-back, 2 home games, 2 home defeats. The first one, a 1-0 defeat, Marco Dominguez getting the goal for them. A player who plays at Antigua. Is it Antigua? I don't know. I will go with it. They're a Guatemalan side. He was signed from them for £135,000. Got his first ever goal against us. If I'm not mistaken, this guy plays for the team that in real life the Canadian Premier League representative will play this summer in the CONCACAF League, which is interesting, so keep an eye out for him. And in the follow-up game, whilst we did get a goal through Soria, it was only a consolation. They went 2 goals ahead very early on in this game through Bitar, and then Rankin grabbed them another in the 20th minute. Soria somehow just got a completely free header, and obviously, whilst it was great to see him get a goal, it kind of wasn't ideal. I guess the silver lining here is we did rotate the team. We had players like Osorio in, Caden Chung. There was various players here who I wouldn't normally play, and so as I said, I'm not going to overly concern myself with it, but the form could be a little bit better. Anyway, in our next game we took on York 9, a 2-0 away win here. Marcel Ruiz finally getting off the mark for us with his first ever goal. Jordan Hambleton, obviously the new signing from Toronto, did make his debut as a starter in this game. Didn't have too much of an impact. And, well, Ruiz got the first, and Carlos Mora in the 84th minute, back and registered in the team. Now we've sorted out all the paperwork, and we're under the foreign player limit. He grabbed the second. And, well, in our most recent game, a 2-1 win against Pacific, Amiobi, absolutely huge for us. 2 almost identical goals within the space of 11 minutes. To the back post, both nodded in by him. They got a late consolation through Stephen Hoyle in the 93rd minute, but we held on in the game for a 2-1 win, which brings us to where we are now. So if we just look at the league table here, you can see those 2 defeats against Cavalry, a little bit tough to take. Cavalry do have a game in hand on us, which if they were to win, they'd go ahead of us. Obviously, 6 games played of 18, so it's still pretty early days here. Marcel Ruiz still really running away with the average rating award, a 7.48 for him. He has improved a hell of a lot this year, really justifying that new contract we gave him, which is great to see. There was one centre-back who I almost recalled to the team, and it was Oyamada. With us having the departure of Tenguia, I did think maybe this guy would be the player to bring in. Japanese international, makes a lot of sense. He has 2 clauses I absolutely detest in his contract to do with after a number of league games he plays, getting wage rises. I love this guy. Very, very good centre-back. He is not worth more than £1,000 a week in our current squad. And for that reason, I'm happy to keep him out on loan for this year, which I'm a little bit torn on because this year we wouldn't have to register him. Next year we would have to register him in our 23-man squad. He looks very good. I would love to renegotiate a contract where these clauses don't exist. I don't know how realistic this is. I feel like I tried this before and it didn't end well. He also wants a minimum release clause and a yearly wage rise. You can see he still wants the wage after international appearances, which I'm not willing to give him. I'd happily give him a larger agent fee and loyalty bonus, but the wages are a concern. You can see he's desperate for more money. I'm going to look at 1,300. Oh, is that too much? I didn't try and negotiate with him before and it all fell through. He's kind of happy with that. 1,300 still more than I'd like. Would I be tempted to recall him now? It would be a dilemma. It's kind of interesting. In the centre-back department, I talked about with the Tenguia sale, just the fact that it's kind of the position where we just have a load of consistent strength in depth. That's kind of the problem I've got right now. You know, we have players like Solomon, very, very good player, but unfortunately does take up an international player slot, which does sometimes cause selection problems. Obviously, Ramon Soria, just the first name down on the team sheet. A real unsung hero, actually, at the back in centre-back. And then you have players like Apare, who looks absolutely fantastic for this level at 30 years old. More than happy to have him in the team. Kareem Moses, competent centre-back, has kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit when it comes to his ability. Not long left on his contract now either. I'm not sure if we're going to renew it. Obviously, Shandal Senior can slot in at centre-back if we really need him to. We've got Bogdanovic as well. And obviously Liam Fraser too. It's tricky. I feel like when it comes to our three at the back, even when Tenguia was here, I really didn't know who our best back three was. And that's something that I would like to try and overcome, I feel like, in the coming years. And so, I don't know. I that's going to cause me headaches, I think, going forward, because I feel like we have some good centre-backs, but they all kind of have weaknesses. Some aren't the best in the air, some aren't the best with the ball at their feet. And within a three-at-the-back system, I guess, to an extent, you can overcome some of those weaknesses, but equally, I like to have three equally reliable centre-backs. I'm kind of hoping that the likes of Solomon, the likes of, obviously, Liam Fraser, who's come in, are really going to stand out and make themselves just first names on the sheet going forward. And between some of the younger centre-backs who've come breaking through, maybe one of those will occupy the third centre-back slot. Anyway, we've got the game against York 9 today. They were a team who did very well, you might remember, last split. They've not started this split off quite as sharply. In terms of our team, we're going to go with Connor James in goal, Ipare, Soria and Solomon along the back. Shandal Senior is going to play at centre defensive mid. Lovitz, of course, now officially Canadian in terms of the paperwork, slots in on the left. Marshall, Deshays and Ruiz playing here. Deshays perhaps the surprise inclusion. We have had just a little bit of an injury crisis, as you know. I've been a little underwhelmed by Kay's performances recently. Deshays needs some first team football with the current situation where it doesn't matter as much where we finish this split. I want to give him more game time. He's going to get a chance for us there. Obviously, Ruiz out on the right. And then it's going to be Daly and it's going to be Sarkaria leading the line. Sarkaria coming in for the injured Duck. Jordan Hamilton going to be waiting in the wings to come off the bench. Still kind of want to slowly introduce him to the team in the striker position, but I feel like over time he will probably surpass Soria as that kind of reliable third choice striker. I mean, you can see the comparison here. It's kind of night and day between them. Obviously, Jordan Hamilton has come in for a significant amount of money. I talked about how a lot of it was propped up by Tenguia. Didn't really anticipate spending that kind of money, but he's obviously a fantastic Canadian player, which helps massively with the squad rules. He was transfer listed. There were a few other MLS teams interested in him. I wanted to make sure that we could get first dibs on him, and I was really delighted just to be able to thrash out terms with him. He is on a fair amount of money, but I feel like it's just one of those deals which I would have been annoyed with myself if we hadn't tried to pull off, and I'm very happy to have him at the team. I feel like it's a matter of time before he starts to really gel, get more familiar with our tactics that we play, and once we have him kind of fully bedded into the team, I anticipate him to really give Duck and Daly, whoever's out of form, a run for their money in the first team. Anyway, Deshays, edge of the box, falls to Marshall. Oh my gosh, what are these blocks? Ruiz, can you score? No. Oh my god, we're barraging the goal. Unfortunately, we're knocking, but we're not getting an answer just yet at the door. Maybe York 9 are going to let us in at the next time of asking. You can see, started the game very, very well. You might have noticed in some of the highlights of previous games, we have, for the most part, dominated our games from a possession standpoint. That's always our main prerogative. Obviously, here at Edmonton, only Cavalry really caused us issues. And, well, obviously they won back-to-back against us, so of course they were causing us issues. But it's been Cavalry and Halifax, really, it feels like so far during the last 2.5 years of being here in Canada, who have been the real pains in the backside, who have, well, left me with sleepless nights, shall we say. Anyway, going to be interesting to keep an eye on Solomon at right centre-back. I'll talk about that in a second as Daly's through. Can he finish it? He can't. Can we get the rebound? Love it. Can you keep it alive? No, he can't. But no, Solomon at right centre-back's an interesting one. With us having 7 foreign players in our registered side, we're only allowed to field 5 of them at a time. I have been prioritising the foreign players higher up the pitch in the midfield and attack, and kind of playing them slightly more often, just because I feel like, as I've said at the back, we're very solid. It's not to say Solomon hasn't played, he has got chances, but I would love to see him really step up his performances and make himself that first name on the sheet when it comes to the foreign players, help me justify perhaps giving him a few more appearances. Oh my gosh, can we just discuss Nick Daly's jump there? Soria's putting a fantastic ball for a centre-back. I mean, it's what we expect from him with his ball-playing ability. But he has set it up at the back post for Nick Daly, who has leaped, well, like a giant. I'm not even sure where he got the height from here. It looked like he jumped too late, but he gets up there and he just nods it back where the ball's come with a perfectly placed header. 8th goal of the season for him. He's right up there for the Golden Boot Award this year, competing for it. With headers like that, he's going to continue to compete with it and for it until the end of the year. I am thinking at half-time we might bring in Hamilton, give him his live com debut on off the bench, give him a full half as the advance forward instead of Sarkare, who's been a little bit absent so far in this game in terms of, well, what I can tell from his average rating. No, my luck, he's now going to score now. He's going to have heard me. Deshays brings it forward. Nick is miles offside. Get onside. Unfortunately, Deshays just couldn't quite squeeze that in there. I think the keeper may have had it covered. It has been cleared for a corner. Maybe the chance isn't over yet. The ball whipped in. Ingham collects. And, well, that's going to be all she wrote for the first half, I imagine now. 1-0. Not a bad performance. We've been statistically the better team. Just need to show a little bit more going forward. You can see Deshays hasn't had the best game either at centre mid on support. But we're going to go into this, boys. I'm not happy. Sarkarea, you are going to come off for Hamilton. We're going to give him a chance to show us what he's made of. Canadian international, £500,000. That is a big price tag to live up to. Perhaps slightly relieved of a bit of pressure due to the sale of Tenguia, but make no mistake, we're expecting big things from him. From a financial perspective, you might be wondering what all the dealings mean for us. We are within the budget set by the board, but for the first time ever, our bank balance has dipped into the red. That kind of is expected to happen. Daly, can you finish that? Yes, he can. 9th goal of the year. But no, we have dipped into the red by a couple of £100,000, which is somewhat of a concern when we're trying to plan for a new stadium. Obviously, cash flow is something that is always going to be tricky here. The Canadian Premier League has been envisaged And I think most people would agree with this, as a league that will probably have teams selling on players for money in order to upgrade the infrastructure and kind of keep that loop going of exporting is the word I'm looking for. Exporting young Canadian talent for good money, developing them, and then kind of keeping a turnstile going. I would like to avoid that with our key players, but when a player like Tenguia obviously has offers in for him from, in this case, a team in our league, but if it was further afield, have perhaps got to look at selling them. And there are certainly players who I will mark as will not sell under any circumstances. But the reality is, as you've seen this year, we have started to bolster the squad a little bit more. The overall wage costs are going up. And with that going up, there is a deficit that has to be filled. And that will hopefully be filled by us moving on players and, I guess being shrewd in the transfer market as time goes on. Anyway, with 2 goals to the good here, I could probably look at making more changes with 7 minutes left. Daly's going to be looking for his hat-trick in the striking department. Also, keep an eye out for Hamilton. He's been pretty quiet so far in this game. Maybe he can make a mistake happen here. Unfortunately, he can't, as Ingham clears it forward to Rollocks. Soria gets it, though, and lumps it forward to Daly. Could put this on a plate for Hamilton. He does. Welcome to the club, my friend. Lovely little goal for him. It's his first of the season. Nick Daly, very unselfish there, on a hat-trick. It could have easily, maybe cut inside, been a bit greedy, taken it from the acute angle. He sets it up on a plate, and Jordan duly obliges. And, with that, let's make some changes. I'm going to take off Deshays. We're going to have the foreign player rule issue here, aren't we? So what I'll do is I'll bring in Kay for Marshall, and then we're going to bring in Mora for Deshays. So a bit of a change up in the midfield. Want to give Mora some game time. He is a player who is very, very key for us, the young Paraguayan centre mid. And equally, Mark-Anthony Kay, been struggling a little bit with form. I feel like there's no harm in giving him, 5-10 minutes here just to show us what he's made of and hopefully improve a little bit. Anyway, 2 minutes left here. Could we get a fourth? It would be lovely to see it, particularly because our recent form really hasn't been that standout. Shandal Senior to Kay, on off the bench. What can you do, Kay? Spreads it to Lovitz. Nick Daly still wants his hat-trick. Hamilton maybe going to be looking for his strike partner here. Lovitz cutting inside. Can he find an end product? He whips in. Daly's there. Can he score it? Of course he can. What a lovely goal. Another hat-trick for him. It's his second of the season, and it's his second in a live comment. Apparently he loves it when we're commentating the matches. He just knows. Danny Lovitz out on the left-hand side just ghosts inside here. Dinks it in. And Daly breaks free and nods it right into the bottom corner. He's so good in the air. It's an underrated part of his game, I feel like, for Nick Daly. 4-0. Hat-trick hero. Give him the match ball. Let him run home with it. What a performance that is. That is really, really great for us. Of course, as this autumn season goes on, I do want to rotate the team around a little bit. Cavalry lost to Valor, which is a massive result in terms of what it means to the second and third kind of face-off. Just as a reminder, because we won the spring season, if we were to win the autumn season as well, it would go to the overall table, which currently, as things stand, has York 9 right up there, although you can see Halifax 3 games in hand right now, that due to their continental football congestion. They've got a lot of games in hand on teams around them, so we can't discount our big rivals just yet. If they were to win all their games in hand, they would be even with us, but that's going to be a tall order for them. If we just look at their schedule, you can see in the North American first round, they actually lost to this team, CA Independiente. What league do you play in? Panama. I mean, Panama's not a bad national team. Obviously, got to the World Cup. And, they've made a bit of a splash on the international stage. But I feel like when you look at these wages, let's just have a look through the quality of their players. I mean, they've got some quality here. They have got some quality. I'm surprised at how good their team is. But equally, you would still be expecting, the Canadian Premier League representative to dispatch of them. They've fallen at an earlier hurdle than we fell at, which somewhat makes me feel better about last year, where we went on to lose to the eventual winners. But for, I guess, Canadian football on a whole, obviously, it's just a not particularly good result there. I did also spot in the Canadian Championship, they got demolished by Vancouver. And actually looking at it here, it's going to be Toronto-Vancouver in the final. So Halifax, the lone representatives of the Canadian Premier League, in that semi-final, unable to go any further there. But anyway, guys, that wraps up everything from us today. In terms of when we'll be back, I'm really not sure. We might come back for the game against Halifax at the start of October. That could be an interesting one. Of course, we've got the playoffs coming up towards the end of the year. I feel like it's worth doing an update between then and now. Otherwise, we are going to be going 3 months without an update, which by my book is just a little bit too long. Maybe the Valor game, because they're up in second as well. We'll kind of play it by ear. We'll see who's really fighting with us at the top of the table, what games in the grand scheme of things might mean a little bit more. And, well, hopefully, of course, I will see you guys for that episode whenever it may be. If you have enjoyed today's video, do drop a like on it. I'll see you again soon. And, well, hopefully, I'll see you guys next time. It is me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.